let's get started. In the meantime, let's get started with Rob with the opening, and I don't want to, kind of keep everybody else hold this whole thing back just because I can't get in. So Rob.
Excuse me. I found this prayer online. It goes, as the dawn breaks on a new year, let us give thanks for all we hold dear, our health, our family, and our friends. Let us release our grudges, our anger, and our pains, for these are nothing but binding chains. Let us live each day in the most loving ways that God can display. Let us serve all who are in need, regardless of race, color, or creed. Let us keep God of our own understanding in our hearts and to chant God's name each day. Let us lead the world from darkness to light, from falsehood to truth, and from wrong to right. Let us remember that we are all one, embracing all, discriminating against none. May your year be filled with peace, prosperity, and love. May God's blessings shower upon you and bestow upon each of you bright, healthy, and peaceful new year.
I'm waiting.
Thank you. The point of the Scout Law this evening is a Scout is kind, and the reminder that he is a friend to all and will not hurt or kill any living creature needlessly, but will strive to save and protect all harmless life. Right. And moving on to announcements, Greg.
Did you say announcements?
Oh, I
did.
Uh-oh.
You have
Announcements.
So I only have a few this month. Just a reminder, after the holidays have gone, we're back to our regular hours at the store now during COVID. So Monday, 11:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then Wednesday and Friday, 9 a.m. to 4. We're continuing to ship things out. If you need to, just call the trading post to work out the postage and take it. Also, just reminding, not sure who to contact. There's a big red box on the main page. If you click there, it brings you to a list of lots of stuff. We're trying to keep it updated. I don't believe there's been any adjustments from the last month, but you can go through and find your primary and secondary contact for help. If you're not sure, reach out to Art or myself, and we'll find the right person for you. And some program updates. Obviously, with the governor's changes and the uptick in some cases, it's been difficult finding locations. So just at this point in time, we don't have any information on some of our in-person events for January. So if things change in the future, we'll let you know. But WOE is happening this Saturday, not this Saturday, the following Saturday. We'll keep everybody in small groups and moving around the camp itself, but come on out for some winter fun. And the Nova Nights for our Cub Scout programs are continuing. And this next session that's coming up is starting a new group of 3. So, and they're going to be going about every other week now. So they're $10 a week for the program, but if you sign up for a group of 3, Jasmine can invoice people, and it's 3 for $20. And the Cub Scouts do go through all the requirements, similar to a merit badge, with Rebecca Hall and her team helping with that. And then if they submit all the work afterwards, they'll complete the Nova Night Award. So that stuff gets mailed out to them. And do know that the Metacomet district is still trying to make plans for their Klondike Derby. That's in February calendar. Some other events coming up. Our work day, we've been getting some great folks coming up. So if you're just itching to get out to camp and help, they'll be working on the new activities building. There's some indoor work for polyurethaning some of the interior boards. some tree work going on as well. And if you want to stay warm outside, help split and stack some wood. And our next coordinated committee meeting is scheduled for the 21st. Looking out into the future, Moses 911, some conversation that might move to the fall. We'll be kind of putting out some feelers with the districts to see how they feel about that. But it's not looking as promising for May for a large event of that scale. And then summer camp, lot yet to be worked out, but we've been sharing a bit. 4 weeks of summer camp up at Moses, and really you can come pretty much any possible way you can imagine. Cub Scout, come as a pack, come as a troop, come as a crew, come as a ship, come as a family, or come provisional. Come overnight, come and for the day only, and we're even offering half weeks, all age groups as well. So the registration is really being worked on, but we're just trying to make possibilities for people that can only get some time off of work to come up to camp. So look for that, more information soon. And I think that's it for me, Ellie. Art has a little bit more to share either now or later.
Okay. I'm in, and now I'm having trouble toggling between screens, but Art does have something to share with us, and let me see if I can get to where this will let me share the screen for you, Art.
Great, appreciate that. So certainly would like to do some recognitions as we do, and as Roundtable is a format to be able to thank people for their things that they do and commitment. And again, this is a slide that will perhaps come up. If not, that's okay. I guess, you know, technical difficulties affect us all at different times. So looks like here it comes. So wanted to thank the 22 units who have already committed to Family Friends of Scouting in 2021. And that's even before we really announced the program and its details, that these following units have already turned in a form. Some of them may not have some specific dates because they don't know what their meeting pattern is going to be, but they've at least committed to participate. So wanted to make sure that we did recognize them. There they all are. Won't read the list out loud. There's a link at the bottom to get to the form if for some reason a unit you're in contact with would be interested in participating and did not yet turn in the form because they, again, weren't sure of what their meeting format was going to be. But again, even knowing that the unit is committed is very helpful. The next several months are going to be difficult times, continue to be difficult times in the operation of the Scout program in terms of our office operation. Again, the decreases in revenue, as you know, have caused us to close our satellite office, do a reorganization of staff, hold off on bringing some other staff in. There will be some new revenue development opportunities that folks will be asked to participate in, and some new incentive programs that will be out there for existing programs. Again, some of that is waiting on board approval in the next week or so. So just the timing of this meeting and the announcement of all those details just didn't work out for this roundtable. There may be a fireside chat toward the middle to end of January, or you will hear all of the details at the January meeting, or the February roundtable, sorry.
Okay, great. Thank you.
That's what I have.
Now, for some reason, there we go. Okay, thanks so much. Joshua, from our council commissioner.
Good evening, everybody. My one focus continues to be rechartering. It is still that season. So I'll just briefly touch on that. To begin with, I would like to thank all of the unit leaders and adults and commissioners and everybody who has been working on charter renewal. It is, as I always tell my commissioners, it is the most fun time of the year. And you get to go through the fun with us every single year. So those units that have already submitted their unit charter for renewal or are in the process of doing so, I thank you very much. Everybody who has submitted their Journey to Excellence scorecards, I thank you very much. All of that, getting as much of that material in ahead of time is a great thing, because that means that I don't have to worry about hounding the district commissioners on a regular basis asking, where are your charters, where are your charters, where are your charters? So I thank you very much. If you are in need of assistance, by all means, please reach out. That is why we are here. Fritz and Rebecca and I and any commissioner would be more than happy to work with you if there are any questions. So please, please, please reach out. Let us know what your questions are, and we'll try to get you the answers. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Any district announcements, any information from the different districts? Anything
Are you
from
going to
AT?
ask me to do a youth protection thing? Or is
I am.
that my opportunity right now?
Well, you were next on the agenda after district announcements, but go for it since no one's making any district announcements. So.
Oh, okay, so as a segue from Josh's comment about rechartering, in General Knox anyway, we're a little bit farther behind than we typically are. And I will say, I just got an update from Art shortly before I came to the roundtable, so I haven't had a chance to check it over, but those of us who were listening earlier know that another unit has finished up with their rechartering today, apparently, which is good. The reason that many of our units, we still have 19 units that have not turned in their charters yet. I'll say approximately 8 of those had finished the online process, and the rest either were still in process or haven't even started yet. And my research shows that most of the units that were not on time were late because they had too many of their leaders with expired youth protection training, and they either couldn't get it done on time because of various glitches, or the units didn't have a way to remove those folks from the list and substitute somebody else who had youth protection training. So for example, I had one unit with 19 leaders, 17 of them had expired youth protection training, and I'd been after them since April to take that youth protection. So what I'd like to advocate for is that you unit leaders take responsibility for your units and make sure that your unit leaders who are registered are up to date on youth protection training. I'm not asking you to do anything that I don't do. As many of you know, I'm still closely associated with Troop 32 as their committee chair. Every unit meeting, I take a look at that youth protection list, see who's expiring when, and when they're 2 months out, I remind them that they need to take it. And I'm asking you guys to do the same thing. They're your units, the leaders are your responsibility, and you should be after them to keep up with youth protection training. This is not a program suggestion. This is a VSA policy, and people must keep up with this in order to provide proper leadership. So you've got to keep after them to do that. And I would appreciate it if you would all continue to do that this coming year. It's easier for you to keep after 10 or 8 or 6 or 15 leaders than it is for me to keep after 1,000. So I'm asking you to please designate somebody in your unit to follow up and make sure that people are up to date with youth protection and that they take it before it expires. That's the best way to do that. So thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you, Fritz. Cheryl, you asked for a couple of minutes.
Thank you very much. Membership. Membership growth is crucial for our council this year. Everything hinges on it. It's also very, very, very important to the life of each of your units. Membership growth is retention and recruitment. Keep the scouts you have and then build on that by adding new members. At the start of 2021, let's focus right now on retention because we're moving into crossover season. Hopefully, Arrow of Light Dens leaders have been in communication with troops, looking for the transition from Webelos to Scouts. That usually happens around March. So if you've not already begun that, Webelos Den, Arrow of Light leaders, please contact the units. And troops, if you've not heard from those leaders, reach out. Also, troop leaders, be thinking of how you're going to present your unit to incoming prospective parents. They're going to want to know how your unit operates, what the requirements are for their youth and for the parents. So prepare something that you can deliver, probably virtually over Zoom, but make sure that your parents are informed so that their boys and girls will cross over from Arrow of Light Dens into the troops. Now, Pat, when those Arrow of Light Dens leave, your unit shrinks. And it's really pretty obvious when that happens. But you want to forestall that. You want to start to build your unit now so that you don't notice that a whole den has gone over and crossed over to the troops. Please start now to recruit new members, particularly lions and tigers. We're woefully short lions and tigers, and a few years down the road, as your other kids age out, you're going to wonder, where are the kids? Recruit them now. So come up with something that you can invite new kindergarten and first graders to join you. Thanks very much. Reach out to us, to Art, to me, to your commissioner. We can help you with whatever planning. Aim to recruit or have a retention or a recruitment event each month. Thanks a lot, Ellie, for the time. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Cheryl. All right. Do we have anyone from the Order of the Arrow to give us any updates? Okay, I guess that's a no. And so I'm going to screen share so we can do a quick thing about okay, it tells me I'm sharing. Here we go. Okay, so planning award ceremonies. One of the things that this is one of the hot topics for this month. We know we're always here with Roundtable. We know that ceremonies are an important part of Scouting. They bring memories at that last year's. They're important for the parents to see the youth to advance, for the youth to see us receive our recognitions as well. So they're important for everybody from the youngest lion right up to the oldest volunteer scouter in the council. There are thousands of ceremonies out there. Some packs, some troops, some crews and ships all develop their own for use for specific events. But there are 4 specific things that I listed here on the BSA site. There's a page for ceremonies. Then on Boy Scout Trail and Scouting Ceremonies and the U.S. Scout Service page, there are some other ceremonies that different units have put up, that leaders have put up for different kinds of ceremonies that have to do with Scouts and Scouts BSA. The Max Scouter Scouting Ceremonies has things from Cub Scouts all the way up to different adult ceremonies. And then for fun awards and things, when we get back to being in person and we can have some interesting things out there for awards, there is the Ceremonies Fun Awards for the Lighthearted from the USSP page. So please feel free to share and think about things. Jen Traw did a wood badge piece. One of her goals had to do with a ceremony in this kind of a situation with COVID, and when some of the restrictions were lifted, she had one of the first ceremonies that was a drive-through kind of ceremony. So Jen has some, if you know Jen and you want some resources about doing some drive-through kinds of things, I would suggest you get in touch with her. Moving on to safety moments. This month is Is It Scouting? So what constitutes a scouting activity? An official scouting activity is consistent with the values, the charter, the bylaws, the rules and the regulations, the manuals, all of the literature that we get through BSA. 3 questions that you should be asking yourself when you decide if the activity is within the guidelines of the scouting program is it age appropriate? And you can look to the age guidelines in the safety manuals, the health and safety manuals, and look at ages and stages. If you're planning activities that fall outside of program materials or handbooks, think about if it's an activity that is appropriate for the age, and is it appropriate for scouting? Not every activity meets those criterion. You know, within families, we think of things like Nerf wars and stuff, and have fun running around the house with shooting little Nerf arrows, and we know that they're not harmful. And yet that's not a valid scouting activity because we are actually aiming at another person. So, and then think about which book you are in, what pages are you on. The scouting program is designed to be safe. So look to your training resources, your handbooks, the guide to health and safety, advancement. Look to all of your resources for whether or not the activity that you want to pull together is a scouting activity, would fall within the confines of, is it a scouting activity? Anybody have any quick questions about that? The URL is at the bottom of this as well. Okay. All right. So at this point then, can we get into our breakout sessions, please, Greg?
Okay. All right, so tonight our topic is Webelos to Scout transition. So it ties in nicely to what Cheryl talked about earlier. So I wanted to talk a little bit about different things to expect at this time of year as we're starting to prep to get our Arrow of Light Scouts over to a Scouts BSA troop. One thing is probably most of you are aware that one of the required adventures in the Arrow of Light rank is the Scouting Adventure rank, and that adventure really is designed to give them the basics of what they'll need to know transitioning into a troop. It deals with topics such as the patrol method, the ranks of Scouts BSA, and a whole host of other things. And basically gives them all the information, most of the information anyway, that they'll need to know in order to earn their first Scouts BSA rank of Scout. Another key activity, and this is one that Cheryl touched on, is troop visits. You know, depending on your situation, I know some packs have a troop that is chartered by the same organization that they're chartered with, and the kids naturally move up to that troop. Others, like in my situation, we're not affiliated with any particular troop. We have 2 troops here in town in Westfield, and my scouts choose between those 2 troops. If I had girls, there's a 3rd girls troop in town as well. So, but there are 2 Scouts BSA troops for boys in town, and so every year I'll have pretty much half the den go to either troop. It really varies on a number of factors, but I always tell my scouts and my parents as they're preparing to transition is check out both troops. They're both really good. You know, figure out where you feel comfortable, and pick that troop. And I also remind them, you know, sometimes it's not permanent, and we've had cases where scouts tried one troop for a while and for whatever reason then transferred to the other troop in town, and that's been a pretty smooth thing. So as long as they're finding a place where they're fitting in and getting used to it. So a couple tips as you're prepping your Arrow of Light Scouts to get ready to move on. Start giving them a little more independence in Cub Scouts. We generally tend to lay everything out for them, and here's our activity for the evening, and here's what we're covering in the books, and here's what you need to do at home, and we step them through it step by step. But as they're Arrow of Light, Weeblos, but Arrow of Light especially, you know, give them a little more independence. Let them have input into selecting what electives they're working on, for example, or, you know, have them plan a fun activity for part of a den meeting. Just some things to start to get them to think in terms of how a troop functions, where the troop is youth-led and the patrol leaders have input into the activities that the troop participates in. So start to instill those same principles in your Arrow of Light den. You know, the goal here is to start to introduce these principles. Obviously, they're not going to master any of this by any means, and it's just to help them so it's not a total shock when they get over to the troop and things are done way differently than it is at the pack level. Aim to have your Arrow of Light Scouts complete their work by late February, early March, I would say. I think most Scoutmasters that I've spoken to over the years want to have those scouts over in their troop sooner rather than later. You know, it takes time for the scouts to adjust to life in a troop, and the more time they have before they get to the warmer months and they start doing camping and even summer camp in the summer, the better off they'll be, as they can start to form friendships with some of the older boys and start to get to know the leaders and start to feel comfortable around this group of people. So the more time you give them, the better. You know, the big thing is to give them time to acclimate. The other thing to remember here is this is a transition for your parents as well. I know when my oldest transitioned to this troop a few years ago, it was a bit of a shock for me because I wasn't used to how things were. I wasn't a Boy Scout personally, so I wasn't used to how things operated in a troop, and it was learning a whole new thing. So put yourself in that perspective of, you know, some of your parents probably don't know the first thing about how a troop runs. So, you know, I know Rob a couple years ago put together a guide that he hands out, and I don't know, Rob, if you have that available to share at some point. Yeah. So I mean, so that's a good.
Just let me know when.
Okay. Yeah. We'll bring it up in a minute here, but that's a good starting point for your own pack of things you can share with your parents of what to expect when moving up to the troop. Rob, why don't you go through your thing now, and then we'll open it up for discussion.
Yeah, so when I did, forgive me 1 second here. Unfortunately, I have a brand new laptop and I want to make sure I have everything on here. Well, I'm just gonna go over what I did because it's gonna take me a while to find the document. Unfortunately, just got the new laptop in, the old one crashed. When you're dealing with parents, what I found that worked best in the past is the document, and I'll send you this out later on. The document basically entails how the Cub Scouts are going to be transitioning to Scouts BSA, meaning there are going to be some slight uniform changes. You're going to be going to you're going to be going from blue epaulets to green epaulets. You're going to have positions of responsibility. You're going to have them working on merit badges. Now, in rank, now this is the biggest I found that in the past where parents get shocked. So we all know in the Cub Scouts environment, as leaders, we basically, along with their parents, we lead the youth in what they should be earning as a group. Whereas once you transition to Scouts BSA, you're allowing your son or daughter to achieve at the speed that they want. So a lot of leaders, a lot of parents are used to, oh yeah, my son or daughter is going to rank up at the end of the year and that's it. Whereas in the Scouts BSA program, the scout can rank up as quickly or as slowly as he or she wants, based on the levels of comfortability. Number two, the biggest thing is campouts. Scouts BSA is a youth-led organization, which means the senior patrol leader is in charge, commonly known as the SPL. So if you're a parent coming up to visit your son camping for the weekend, don't be shocked if you see leaders around a campfire having coffee and just catching up on things while the senior patrol leader is out leading the youth on a hike or some activity that they can use toward their rank. So those are the two biggest shockers right there. One piece of advice I do give parents as they transition into Scouts BSA, and it's a handy habit to have, and it's going to be more and more as you progress. Let your kids teach themselves how to sew, because they're going to have plenty of opportunity to do that between swapping out the ranks, swapping out merit badges, and swapping out patches of office. The other thing is too, as a parent, and this is also thought for parents who are leaders, you have to let your scouts fail. Like, yes, intervene if you're about to see something that may cause some type of harm. But if it's something that's going to provide them a valuable learning lesson, cooking, no one cooks perfectly in the first camp out. Let that scout fail so they can learn from their mistakes. Only intervene when it's something that may do with the handling of food, because that's always important, or it's something that will happen. And the other thing as a scout is, I don't know how to say this, but as parents and as leaders of scouts, when you're transitioning over, don't be surprised when they go camping and they come home with a pack where none of their clothes have been changed into. Especially the first year scouts. I witnessed this myself. May change socks if you're lucky. So don't be shocked if your kids come home with their changes of clothes still intact. Again, it's a learning curve for the scouts. It's a comfortability factor. The leaders are there to provide guidance, but if your scout's not going to change clothes, he or she, and I'm talking more from the male perspective, will learn that they need to change clothes eventually. Because when I was a kid as a scout, and my brothers and I came home from camping, because we would reek of smoke, my parents used to make us change in the basement and throw all our laundry in the washer and dryer immediately, where we were not allowed in the upper part of the house until that was done, because that stuff does get into the furniture very quickly. But that's the biggest thing with Scouts BSA. You're going to see your daughter and your son exercise some independence, and you are going to sit back saying, why aren't the leaders intervening, or why shouldn't I be intervening? You have to let them learn. You have to let them fail to learn, and you have to let them carve their own path in scouting. So if they're not moving as quickly as they do with other scouts, it's going to happen. Some scouts may earn Eagle as young as 13. Some scouts may earn Eagle on their 18th birthday. So you are going to see that gamut. All you can do there is be supportive of your scout, what he or she wants. And that's basically what my thing covered.
Yeah. Rob made Rob's the little talk there brought a couple things to mind. One of the stories I wanted to tell was my first camp out with the troop when my oldest son crossed over. Scoutmaster very wisely pulled me aside and said, "Greg, Dad is not here this week. You are not Dad this week, or this weekend." And that helped me put me in this right frame of mind where, okay, I'm just going to kick back and sit around the fire with the rest of the leaders. And he went and did his thing, and he survived. The other thing was the second camp out we did with the troop after my son crossed over. The first year patrol decided they wanted to make pancakes for Saturday morning breakfast. They were little blackened hockey pucks that they all ate, but they made pancakes nonetheless. So that was, that ties into Rob's, let them fail a little bit, because they learned how to make pancakes at that camp out. Anybody else have any advice or stories they want to share? Lessons learned they want to share with us?
So a couple weeks ago, actually the beginning of December, I actually crossed over my den, my arrow of lights already. One of the big things that made it so that I could do that earlier was I made them do a lot of the work. So in the first couple meetings, we worked on the scouting adventures, and they voted on who their patrol leader was going to be. And I made that patrol leader take some of that work. So patrol leader was responsible for opening and closing, during the den meetings. And it's already made it so that they're kind of used to, oh, hey, one of the scouts is going to go do this, not one of the leaders. So, it's less of a shock for them when they go over, because they're already doing some of those things. And at least for one of the adventures where it was choose one of these 6 things to do for the requirement, my plan was, because one of the other requirements is they had to go plan some activity or whatever. My plan was they had to figure out how to meet those requirements. They decide on their own how they were going to do it, which one they were going to do, and all of that. So that also helps starting to get to, the idea that, hey, they've got say in how they're going to do their advancement and stuff.
Now, the one thing I will remind scout leaders and parents is when their son or daughter crosses into Scouts BSA, someone will assume that they can continue using their pocket knife they may have earned with whittling chip. That's not the case. So when you go into Scouts BSA, you actually have to go through a program called Tote and Chip, which not only allows you to carry a knife safely, but it teaches more of the use of safety for axes, saws, and so forth. A lot more tools that they experience in the Scouts BSA program than they would with Cub Scouts. Same thing with fire building. Fire building in the Scouts BSA is taught through a program called Fire in Chit, and that also teaches them to properly build a fire, monitor the fire, and correctly douse the fire as well. So it's one thing that the scout leaders, when they cross over, will be like, okay, guys, we know you may have used knives previously, but until you do X, you cannot carry knives in the troop as well.
See, for me, one of the hardest things for transitioning is knowing where parents can sign off on things the scouts have earned, because as a Cub, parents can sign up a lot of things, but trying to figure out what you can do in the troop and finding that interesting. Such as items for like scout rank and things like that.
I made that really easy for my 2 kids. I told them I'm not going to sign anything off for them unless I'm a merit badge counselor for a group of people.
Perfect.
That was similar to the tact I took with my oldest. Was I think there was one requirement in the scout rank where it was do this with a parent or discuss with your parent, that I signed that one requirement. I can't remember what it was, but other than that, I've had, you know, he's had to take everything to the troop meetings and get it signed off there.
Yeah, that's how it usually works for most units, especially with parents. They are in a leadership role. They will never sign their daughter's or son's books. It's always another scout leader within the troop that does it. Or if you're a scout master in that position, what was done in my troop as well, yes, the scout master would sign off for his son, but there would also be a co-signature as well. So there would be no questions.
Okay, we got about a minute and a half left, it looks like. Any other comments or suggestions or stories or whatever you want to share?
One more thing, guys, as parents, let your kids pack their own bags when they go camping. Yep. I'll give you a quick little story. When I was on my very first winter camp, I was a troop. My mom tried being helpful, handed me my winter boots. And then when I was camping and my boots froze, they literally froze overnight. So a nice bent over position. I went to get my extra boots. My mom gave me 2 left ones. And I learned very fast how to thaw boots around a campfire. But that's another reason why let your scouts pack their own stuff, because they'll learn quickly that way. Trust me, I learned very quickly that way too.
And if they make a mistake, they'll only make that mistake once. If they do
Exactly, especially when it comes to their comfort.
That's right.
Well, I was just going to chime in to say that I agreed with your statement of getting the Arrow of Light to the Boy Scout troop as soon as you can, so that they get to know them and know how their meetings run. Under normal circumstances, our pack usually starts going to the troop meetings around this time, December, January. So they have all this time to do Boy Scout meetings so they can see how they're run and what their expectation is before they cross over. We found that to be very helpful. So it's not quite such a culture shock. And like you said, for parents as well, me being one.
Have people joining in. Aaron will be taking over the screen and presenting, and then I'll try to observe for questions that we can try to address either at the end, or if not, then we can try to reach them offline. So thank you, Aaron, for coming along with my request to help tonight, and I appreciate it. And again, if anyone does have questions, feel free to put them into the chat and we'll try to address them as we can.
Awesome, thanks. I'm going to share my screen. I did do a PowerPoint, but I'm realizing it may be a little lengthy, but that's okay. I'll kind of go through it quickly, and then I can share it. And then if anybody wants a copy of it, I can always send it to you. So let's go back. Oops. We'll start from the beginning. Hold on, bud. All right. So what is Scout Book? It's basically a Scouts PSA unit management tool. Okay. If you didn't know, besides advancements looking at adult leader training, you can do email and text communication through Scout Book, and you can also log in payments and activities. And there's a new way to log in the activities, and I'll go through that. That's towards the end. But essentially, the role of the unit admin is going to be the advancement and approval, set up the den and patrols, manage the pack calendar, you can add adults and scouts and then add entries to the payment log. And then den and patrol leaders can manage their own den. They can send out communications. They can do scout advancements and connections, which we'll talk about. And then with parents, now that we're kind of doing a lot of remote things, the parent role has evolved. Usually when I started on Scoutbook, they didn't really want parents, messing around and adding things. And now it's more the parent is really helping the den leader and not so much the patrol leader, because remember in the Scouts, it's Scout led. So the patrol leader would be adding things there. But in our troop, it's basically the advancement chair that's adding things in Scoutbook. And we're starting to have more parents at our pack level check things and add things that they're working on. And then the advancement chair is going to approve those items. All right, if your unit doesn't already have a Scout book, everyone should have Scout book. But if you actually don't have, if you don't know how to get to it, you can contact me later and then we can help you figure it out. But basically the key three, they're gonna have full access, and then they can assign different access to different leaders. All right, and then there's instructions here. So here's with your unit setup. If you want to add a den or add a patrol, bottom right, you click here. And then this would be under your dashboard, but we'll get into that if we need to break it down a little bit further. But learning how to use Scoutbook. So I've been using Scoutbook since my son James joined when he was a Tiger. So that was probably, I should probably know, like 2011, 2012. And I was just a parent. The unit leaders were just getting started with it, and they were like, here, anybody who can figure this out, help us out. So it was just a lot of playing around. There's more support now, which we'll talk about at the end. But you can Google anything. Scoutbook has its own resource page, and there's a great Facebook page as well, which I'll share later. All right, and then this is adding an adult leader. If you can search for existing adults. I wouldn't add anybody. What you're going to do is when there is an application, you're going to mail that or send it to the Westfield office, and they're going to add everybody. And you'll be able to search for existing adults within 24 to 48 hours of that application being processed. All right, so how do I log in? So either if you have a parent or a new leader, their first thing is to go to my.scouting and to create their account. They will have their Scouts BSA number, and if they don't have it, then we can get that member ID for them. All right, and then when you're creating your dens and your patrols and you're assigning Scouts, this is that earlier when you clicked on that add den, add patrol. You can name the den, you can name the patrol, anything that you want. My dog wants to be next to me right now. But so after that 24 to 48 hours, you'll have a Scout, all the Scouts will be in Scoutbook, and then you need to assign them. So you just kind of grab them and then you assign them to their whatever patrol or den they need to go to. All right, so this is what I was talking about, the 24 to 48 hours. It's actually really quick, but if you're not seeing your Scout within 48 hours, you can start making some phone calls to see where the application would be. But just be patient. There's a lot going on, especially if you're mailing things out and you're not able to drop things off. There is a lag time there. All right, so I really went into this adding new Scout thing. Again, I can send this to you, but you will see the Scouts. So I'm not a key 3 for my pack. So what I had to do is when we had our 2 new scouts that were just registered, I just kind of went into Scout Book every day, just refreshed, and then they just kind of popped up. But you should be, as a key 3, you should be receiving emails when your scout has been added to Scout Book, I believe. All right, and then you can go into their membership. All right, and then this is how you can reassign the scouts to the den that you want them to go to, or you can go into the den and add new scout. But like I said before, if you do add new scout, you'll get a you add first name, add last name. Don't do that. All right, wait for council to put your scout into Scout Book. It happened with my son. Somebody tried to add him when we switched units, and he ended up having 2 member profiles, and it was kind of a mess. So just wait for council to add the scout, and then you can grab them. All right, so you click on the scout, and then you'll have the youth member, and then you can reassign den. And then here I am, it's a little blurry. And here I am reassigning the scout to the new den. And you can edit this profile. Now, when things go through recharter, all the address and everything should be in there. But if you need to add anything, you can do that. All right, and then there's a connection button here, and then this is where parents and leaders can be added. All right, again, you click add. And you can't really do any crazy mistakes. If you do run into a jam, there's, you can contact me. I'll have my contact information at the end. You can call council. The main thing to remember is if you're brand new to Scout Book is don't panic. You really can't mess things up. I mean, you can get yourself into a couple jams, but for the most part, it can be a little frustrating when they do updates, but for the most part, it's a great tool. All right, so connecting adults, if you have to connect a parent, I do want to get through all this, but you can edit connections to your scout. So say your scout switched packs or troops, you can go in there and edit connections. All right, so this is my dashboard. So when I log into Scout Book, this is what I see. I see my 3 scouts, I see my Weeblos den, and I see my 3 units that I'm a part of. All right, so everybody will have some kind of dashboard look. All right, and then this is my unit. This is my girl troop. All right. I did want to talk about calendar events. You can use Scout Book as a calendar tool. And I think I have a few slides on this that I don't want to really rush through it, but if you're not using Scout Book as a calendar, it's really easy to set that up for planning. Families, they can log in, they can see what's going on. I know there's a lot, I communicate in many different ways because a lot of families, they communicate in many different ways. We put out messages on Facebook. I do messages on Scout Book. I send out emails. I'm a type of person that likes a lot of reminders. So I send out a lot of reminders. This can probably be annoying for a lot of people, but if they just want to ignore all my emails, they can go straight to Scout Book and they can see the calendar and know what's going on. And then you can have people RSVP for events. I don't really see too many people do this, so I don't really do it too much anymore. But if you needed to have an RSVP and you needed to have a tally, it's it's available for you. I know this is for Cub Scouts, but it's the same thing. So Scoutbook is an advancement tool. You just click on the specific ranks. So then I went over to Lily's profile, my daughter. Same thing right here. You click on advancement. And then this is all her advancements right now. And then the page does scroll down quite a bit away. And then you can look to see, which merit badges that she started, and then what she still needs to work on. And we're also gonna, at the very end, I'm probably gonna run out of time so I can send this, but I'll show you how to run a report. So you don't have to click all on this. You can just hit a report and you can see exactly what your scout needs to be working on. When you're adding a merit badge counselor, you're gonna go to that dashboard page, all right, with my unit, and you can click on the merit badge counselor list. And then you can search, all right? So if you wanted to, so I ended up searching for astronomy, all right? So in this, under all badges, they're all in alphabetical order. You can click on, whichever merit badge you're looking for. You can search your proximity to zip code, and it'll show if they're available, busy or both. I don't know why you'd want to see if anybody was busy, but click on available, search, and then all your astronomy merit badge counselors will pop up and the distance from you. All right, it has their contact information, so you can contact them, or your scout can contact them. So if you wanted to start a new merit badge, scouts can do this. I actually encourage the scouts to get into their own Scoutbook account so they can keep track. I mean, obviously there's other tools, we have binders, they have their handbooks, they have, things that they can track. But, they like to click on stuff, and this actually shows them what they need to work on, how much they need to work on, what their percentage is. It just keeps them, more focused on what they need to do rather than sifting through, lots of papers. So you're going to click on start another merit badge. And then, you search whatever merit badge you want to start. All right. You can also track Scout awards. And actually tonight, I found a new award that I had never heard of. It's called the Hometown USA Award. And this is for my son's account. So I clicked on that because I saw that, oh, look, he started it. This one requires, I guess, the completion of about 13 merit badges and some other things. So if you were to scroll down, you would see the other requirements. So it looks like he only has, 2 out of the 13 merit badges completed here. All right, so leadership and training. I did notice when I was going through this, I didn't put in some training that my scouts have been through. Den Chief training wasn't in here. NYLT wasn't in here, ILST. So these are things the unit leader should be putting in. It's not automatic. And this will show, if you click on their leadership, you'll see, whatever's been put into Scoutbook regarding their leadership. All right, and there's the training. This should already be syncing, but if it's not, we'll just have to figure that out. And that's just a quick question that, we can ask, and whatever button needs to be clicked, we can click on that for your unit. All right, so you add training. So I saw that I didn't put in ILST. So that's something that I will need to do for this unit. I know we only have about 4 minutes, but this is old. If you haven't been in Scoutbook in a little while, they have changed. So there's no longer service log, camping log, hiking log. Now it's activity log. And when you click on the activity log, it brings you into internet advancement. There was a lot of issues with this just a few months ago. It's really smoothed out nicely. I was able to add a couple camping and hiking. But it's super simple. You just create it, you put in the dates, you put in camp out location, you can do your hiking service. We're back to calendar again. So this was that calendar that I was talking about. You know, all these colors are for different dens, patrols, units, who's been invited. Again, it's super simple. Add the event. So you have your calendar up here, you have your event type. So my calendar, I have 3 different units, so I have to choose which one we're working with. Here they are here. Well, I have 3 units and then the dens and patrols in between each one. All right, so I wanted to skip ahead, excuse me, to unit reports. All right, you can do lots of reports. And you can build reports. So here I see that Avery needs her scout rank. It needs to be awarded. Okay, so we haven't given that to her yet. So we just shut down again. And then this was a needs purchasing report that you can do. Nothing needs to be purchased for the troop, but I do need some things that need to be purchased for the pack. And then we have needs awarding. And you can click, oh, we got 1 minute. You can click on, you know, which one you want to purchase, which one you want to award. This scout didn't return. So instead of clicking all awards, you know, I had to go in here and manually unclick this because I'm not going to award it to him because he's just no longer with us. And here's some of the reports that you can do. This is individual advancement record. And this is incomplete. This is the incomplete merit badge. It'll print out a PDF. You can give this to your scout. They can print it for themselves. We'll skip over this. Okay, this email and text communication. We're going to run out of time. But in order to receive text, you need to go into your profile and enter your mobile carrier. Mine happens to be Verizon. It's just a drop down right here. But you know, it's quick, and you'll know who has the text capabilities because they'll have a little mobile phone next to their thing. All right, so you can also do the payments. If you need support, you can go to Scoutbook, ask questions. The Scoutbook tips and tricks and help Facebook page is excellent. There's so many people that want to help. You just add your question to Facebook, and then you can always contact me or Jim Curry. He knows a lot of tips and tricks.
Well, I want to thank Rebecca for putting us in touch with Erin, and thank Erin for her presentation at the Scouts BSA breakout. And Rob, how'd everything go at your end? Good.
Everything went great.
Great. Okay. Right, I'm going to go into screen sharing again so that we can do our closing. Is there anything that anybody needs to bring up before we do closing? Okay, right. February 1st is going to come up fast and furious, and when I look at things on the calendar, it's just much quicker than I had even anticipated. So coming February 1st, Cub Scout Breakout will be is scheduled to be the Historic Trail Awards, and the Scouts BSA Crew and Ship Breakout is scheduled to be Outdoor Ethics. So we hope that we will see all of you then. And now we will go to get to this, and we'll go to our closing. I have a prayer for the new year, and since we just were shoveling snow again this morning, thank you, Lord, for giving me the brand new year ahead. Help me live the way I should. As each new day I tread, give me the gentle wisdom that I might help a friend. Give me strength and courage, so a shoulder I might lend. The year ahead is empty. help me fill it with good things, each new day filled with joy and the happiness it brings. Amen. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. And I will be sending out the email Zoom link for our staff. I'll send that out tomorrow or Wednesday. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Have a very safe, very safe and healthy new year.
You too as well.
Thank you. Aaron, thank you very much. Good presentation.